Have you ever had a breakthrough, a moment where everything felt different, where you felt lighter, freer, more connected to God than you had in years? And then, a few weeks later, you were right back where you started. The old thoughts came flooding back. The old patterns kicked in, and you felt defeated, like maybe the breakthrough didn't really stick. Maybe you've tried affirmations. Maybe you've prayed harder. Maybe you've read all the books, done the Bible studies, even gone to counseling. And some of it helped for a while. But nothing seemed to create lasting change. And here's what I want you to know. That's not because something's wrong with you. It's because there's a difference between feeling better and actually being different. Between a powerful moment and a permanent shift. Today, we're diving into Phase 4 of the Path Home series, what I call Cultivating the Truth. This is where transformation actually happens. Not through trying harder, not through willpower, but through something far more powerful. The deeper, more accurate truth. Meeting the lie at the seed level and dissolving it with love. This is the phase where everything changes. All right, settle in. Let's go. Before we dive in, I want to remind you about a resource that ties directly into what we're talking about today. If you've been wondering which hidden barriers might be running the show in your life, the lies that have been blocking your transformation, I created a free assessment just for this. Head to religiostraumaquiz.com. You'll answer a series of questions, get a personalized report showing exactly which barriers are most active with percentages, so you know where to focus. Plus, you'll get my Essential Starter Kit, my book, a mini course, live reading circles, and community access, all free. And if you're ready to actually dissolve those barriers, not just name them, but experience real transformation, the Coming Home Journey is open. Join us at thecominghomejourney.com. I want to tell you about something I witnessed in the Coming Home Journey that still amazes me. A woman came into the program who had tried everything. I mean, everything. She'd been to counseling, multiple counselors actually. She read the books, she'd done the Bible studies, she journaled, she prayed, she fasted. She even tried affirmations, standing in front of the mirror telling herself she was enough. She was loved, she was worthy. And some of it helped for a while. She'd have a powerful moment, maybe even cry healing tears, feel lighter for a few days. And then the old story would come back. I'm not enough. I'm too much. I don't belong. Like clockwork, the same patterns would return. She came into the Coming Home Journey feeling almost hopeless. Like maybe she was just broken. Maybe she was the one person transformation didn't work for. But here's what happened. We didn't try to give her new affirmations. We didn't tell her to try harder, pray more. Instead, we helped her go deeper, to the seed level where the belief had been planted in the first place. And we asked her a question. What's the deeper, more accurate truth? Not a truth someone else told her, not a truth she was supposed to believe, but the truth she already knew deep down underneath all the lies that had been piled on top. And something shifted, not because she forced it, not because she willed herself to believe something different, but because when the deeper, more accurate truth met the lie just dissolved. She said afterward, I've known these things in my head for years, but this time I knew them in my bones. It's like the lie just lost its power. That's seed-level transformation. That's what Phase 4 is about. And that's what becomes possible when you stop trying harder and start seeing more clearly. Last week we talked about Phase 3, naming the hidden barriers that have been running the show. And naming is powerful. You can't heal what you can't name. But here's what I want you to understand. Naming is necessary, but naming alone doesn't dissolve the barrier. Think about it this way. If you have a weed in your garden, seeing it is the first step. You can't pull what you can't see. But just seeing it doesn't remove it. You have to actually do something about it. That's what phase 4 is about. We're not just identifying the overgrowth anymore. We're cultivating the truth that allows those old lies to dissolve. This is where transformation actually happens. Not at the surface level, not through willpower or positive thinking, but at the seed level, the deep, unconscious place where these beliefs were planted in the first place. Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Not transform yourself by trying harder. Not transform yourself by having more faith. Be transformed. It's something that happens to you by the renewing of your mind. That's what we're talking about today. How renewal actually happens, how lies dissolve, how you become different, not just feel better for a moment. Part 1 of our teaching today is going to be about the difference between feeling better and being different. So let's talk about why breakthroughs don't always stick. You've probably experienced this, a powerful moment of insight. Maybe you felt something shift. Maybe you cried. Maybe you felt closer to God than you had in years. And you thought, this is it. Everything is different now. But then, a few weeks later, you're back in the old pattern. The old thoughts are running again. The old feelings are flooding back. And you feel defeated. Here's what's happening. There's a difference between a state experience and a seed-level transformation. A state experience feels amazing. It's emotional. It's cathartic. It creates temporary relief and sometimes profound insight. But unless that experience shifts the core belief, the unconscious story that's been running in the background, it won't create lasting change. This is the difference between I feel loved right now and I am loved, period. Between I had a breakthrough and I actually broke free. And here's why affirmations and trying harder don't work. When you have a core belief like I'm not enough, that belief creates a closed loop. Everything gets filtered through it. Someone gives you a compliment. They're just being nice. They don't really mean it. You accomplish something significant. It's not that big of a deal. Anyone could have done that. You tell yourself, I am enough. In the mirror, your unconscious mind says, no, you're not. Nice try. The belief is filtering everything to confirm itself. That's why you can't just think your way out of it. That's why willpower doesn't work. The lie is operating at a deeper level than your conscious thoughts. So what does work? Transformation at the seed level, where the lie was planted in the first place. And here's part 2, how barriers actually dissolve. Here's something important about how we approach this work. We don't talk about breaking through barriers. We talk about dissolving them. And the language matters. Breaking through implies force, pushing, overcoming. And for those of us who've experienced religious trauma, who've been pushed, controlled, forced into compliance, that language can actually be triggering. Dissolving is gentler and more accurate. These barriers aren't brick walls to smash through. They're old recordings, false beliefs, survival strategies that were brilliant once. They protected you in different environments, but they aren't needed anymore. They don't need to be fought. They need to be seen clearly, held with compassion, and gently dissolved through truth. Like salt in warm water. Like morning fog in sunlight. The barrier doesn't disappear through effort. It dissolves through presence, through truth, through love. So how does this actually happen? It happens when the deeper, more accurate truth meets the lie at the seed level. See, here's what I've discovered. The truth isn't foreign to you. It's not something you have to import from the outside. Deep down, underneath all the lies that were piled on top, you already know what's true. You know you're not actually worthless. You know you're not actually invisible. You know you're not actually too much. Somewhere deep inside, you've always known. The problem is, the lies got planted on top. They got reinforced by religious systems, by family patterns, by years of messages that told you something different. But the deeper, more accurate truth is still there. It's been waiting. And when we create the conditions for you to access that truth, not through force, not through trying harder, but through gentle discovery, the lie just loses its power. It dissolves because it was never as strong as the truth it was covering up. That's seed-level transformation. That's how you go from a fixed story, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I don't belong, to a growth story. I can learn, I can grow, I can become who God created me to be. Okay, and here's part 3. So let me ask you the question that changes everything. What's actually true about you? Not what religion told you, not what your family said, not what the critical voice in your head keeps repeating. What's the deeper, more accurate truth? Here's what I've come to understand. Every single one of those hidden barriers was created when something true about God's design was violated. You learned, I'm invisible, because your individuality wasn't celebrated. You learned, I'm not safe, because force was used instead of gentleness. You learned, I'm too much, because your voice wasn't honored. You learned, I'm not enough, because love was conditional instead of freely given. Those barriers aren't the truth about you. They're evidence that something went wrong in your environment. They're survival adaptations you brilliantly created to navigate a difficult situation. But they're not who you are. The real God, not the distorted version that religious trauma taught you about. The real God operates completely differently. He celebrates your uniqueness. He never forces or controls. He honors your voice. He loves you freely, unconditionally, without you having to earn it. And when you start to see Him clearly, who He really is, not who religion said He was, you start to see yourself clearly too. You're not broken. You've been brilliantly adaptive. And barriers you carry aren't proof that something's wrong with you. They're proof that you survived something difficult. And now you get to discover what's actually true. That you are enough, not because you earned it, but because God said so. That you do belong, not because you fit in, but because He made a place for you. That you are loved, not because you performed well enough, but because that's who He is. This is what it means to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. The lies dissolve. The truth emerges, and you become different, not through effort, but through revelation. So there you have it, Phase 4, Cultivating the Truth. This is where transformation actually happens. Not through trying harder, not through willpower, but through the deeper, more accurate truth, meeting the lie at the seed level and dissolving it with love. Here's your simple win for this week. Take one of those barriers you identified last week. Maybe I'm not enough, or I don't belong, or whatever resonated with you, and ask yourself, what's the deeper, more accurate truth? Don't force an answer. Don't try to convince yourself of something. Just get quiet and ask. See what surfaces. See what you already know deep down that the lie has been covering up. That's where transformation begins. Next week, we're moving into phase 5, the final phase, growing your wings. We'll talk about what happens after transformation, how you actually live as this new woman, how you embody the truth, how you take flight into the life God has for you. If what I described today, that seed-level transformation, that dissolving of lies, that discovery of deeper truth, if that's what you've been longing for, I want you to know it's available to you. The Coming Home journey is designed specifically for this. We don't just name the barriers, we dissolve them. We don't just talk about truth, we help you experience it at the deepest level. Women who've tried everything else finally find lasting transformation because we go to the seed level. Learn more at thecominghomejourney.com. If this episode helped you understand why nothing has worked before and what actually creates lasting change, would you share it with someone who's been stuck in that same cycle? A review on Apple Podcasts helps more women find their way to real transformation. Next week is our final episode in the Path Home series, Phase 5, Growing Your Wings. I'll share what happens after the barriers dissolve, how you actually embody this new identity, and why transformation isn't the end of the journey. It's just the beginning. Until then, remember, you're not broken. You've been brilliantly adaptive, and the deeper, more accurate truth about who you are, it's been waiting for you all along. The lies just need to dissolve so you can finally see it. I'll see you next time.